Today we're going over the Three Houses Valentines Banner. We call this Valentine's, but in fact the Day of Devotion Festival is more of a celebration of just general gratitude. Not sure if we have any high school sweethearts, but the house leaders are here to reclaim the loss of that free otherworld bond. We have 3 new wild ults for Claude, Dimitr, and Edelgard. For the duo unit, we have a sweet pairing of Rhea and Sothis. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some general playstyle and maybe some alternate builds, not that these units really need them. This banner does not have a 4-star focus unit. That means this time Claude is here with full limited 5-star power. For this ult, Claude is a blue bow cavalier with 40 HP, 46 attack, 48 speed, 24 defense, and 27 res. Speed super boon, and this is a fairly typical offensive Claude stat spread. For ult skills, Claude brings curved shot for unpierceable 40% damage reduction. He also has attack and speed prime 4 for some close counter action. The house leaders kinda trade and share a bunch of effects, so we don't have to talk about a lot of new things once we go through them the first time. With that said, this banner has a crazy first effect. For Claude's Deer's Heart bow, after Kanto triggers, even if Kanto control ends Claude's turn, if he entered combat, then Claude gets another action, and he re-enables Kanto. Good lord. At the start of every turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Claude gives himself and those allies no follow-up and the preempt pulse status. For himself, Claude has Kanto remaining with minimum Kanto 1, he has Sling, and if initiating or near an ally, Claude gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus 15% of his flat speed. Claude neutralizes the enemy's speed and defense field buffs, he gets no guard, and heals 7 HP after combat. He then deals true damage equal to X times 5, with X being the number of positive stats effects active on Claude, plus the number of negative stats effects active on the foe. This has a max of 5 statuses, which means 25 true damage. Alrighty, so the extra action comes after Kanto. Let's say Claude moves 3 spaces to attack. He then moves 1 space with Kanto 1. This is when the extra action triggers, and let's say he's in range of a target. Claude makes an attack, and since he didn't move anywhere with Kanto refreshing, he now gets Kanto 3 to retreat. For combat, Preempt Pulse was from Emblem Lin, and it's basically the status to give -1 instant cooldown before attacking. This means Claude initiates with Curve Shot ready. With no guard, if he gets hit back, he can proc Curve Shot again on the follow-up. Low speed and defense, and a lot of true damage further empowers his damage. To no surprise, the house leaders all get brand new variants of their personal bead skills. Pure Starfall states, if initiating or D-Star is active on Claude, he inflicts -5 speed and defense, he deals true damage and gets flat DR equal to 20% speed. Claude has 50% DR piercing on all hits, and he gets Scowl with no res checks. For the Fallen Star part, Claude gets 80% damage reduction when initiating for first attacks with an S. After combat, he gets Deep Star and Vantage, plus inflicts 1 space AoE gravity. As a refresher, Deep Star is just the 80% damage reduction effect Claude keeps for 1 fight in the enemy phase. He may not even need it this time because he has Vantage. That Vantage proc is going to be an instant curved shot, 40% unpierceable DR with 80% regular DR. Pure Starfall adds 20% speed as flat damage reduction too. Even if you have the 80% damage reduction, Claude still gets 64% damage reduction with curved shot on top. He's not the tankiest unit stat-wise, but Claude is just not going down without DR piercing of some kind. Now, to make things worse, he has Scowl to counter DR piercing specials. With his extra actions, Claude also can deploy gravity 2 times. For his new inheritable C skill, Claude has attack and speed Insight Hone. This is a cavalry only skill, and because of that, it might be easier to think of it like a tier 4 Hone emblem buff. However, the buffing effects are going to buff any unit type. Every turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +6 attack and speed and the incited status to the user and those allies. In combat, the user gets bonus attack and speed equal to 2 plus the number of allies with incited active. This doesn't include the user, so you need to buff 3 allies to get the max +5 attack and speed bonus. This skill only requires Hone Attack 3 or Hone Speed 3, so it's super easy to inherit. Like the Hone emblem buffs, it buffs attack and speed, but now has a 2-space range, and you get incited for a potential +3 to all stats. The user gets more attack and speed the more allies they buff. Generally speaking, Claude's doing Claude things, but with 3 movement and extra actions. If you let him initiate, he gets 80% damage reduction and then unpierceable 40% damage reduction, add on some flat DR too. Claude can instantly proc Curve Shot and has no follow-up to double when outspeeding. The guy is super fast, and if you don't one-round him, he's going to get to Kanto, move again, and then Kanto again too. Claude can lay down AoE gravity, so even if you survive, now you might not even be able to catch him. If you do, he has close counter plus Vantage. Claude can get 3 statuses initially for 15 true damage, and after Pure Starfall will give him 2 more, so you get that 25 max bonus. You will get to use those with that extra action attack as well. Now these units do not need new skills, but Claude can audible to something like Fatal Smoke to outlast enemies. Shadow Shift is very interesting for a unit that re-enables Kanto, plus it adds 7 more healing. With extra actions, Flared Sparrow can punish foes on the fire, and Claude can stack out of combat damage with things like Savage Blow or Poison Strike. Since you might still get a little hurt, you can use Desperation for an immediate 2-tap on the second attack. With no guard, Claude can also Radiant AoE special. You may want to keep Curve Shot for the % DR insurance, but imagine an AoE on that second action and then Claude just runs away while the foes are stuck with gravity. Yeesh. I just can't imagine us not getting some kind of extra action counter with stuff like this running around. Valentines Dimitri will be taking up the sword this time, but he's still on a horse. For stats, he has 41 HP, 49 attack, 47 speed, 34 defense, and 19 res. Attack super boon, great offensive stats at the cost of resistance. For old skills, Dimitri has attack and speed excel to mitigate damage, and he has Shadow Shift for the reposition during a Kanto action. For his Lion's Heart Sword, like Claude, Dimitri will get an extra action after Kanto. He also gets the Kanto refresh. Each turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Dimitri gets +1 movement. He then gives his allies the debuff neutralization status and the protect cooldown status. For himself, Dimitri has Slaying with Kanto remaining +1 with a minimum of Kanto 2. If initiating or near an ally, Dimitri gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus 15% flat speed, and he heals 7 HP after combat. Like Claude, Dimitri has the same true damage effect, 5 advantageous statuses for 25 true damage. However, he also gets flat damage reduction. With 5 statuses, Dimitri can get up to 15 flat DR. Like the Excel skills, the flat DR is doubled when enemy specials trigger. As a 4 movement cavalier with extra actions, Dimitri will be able to get around a lot. He has a minimum of Kanto 2 to use Shadow Shift's reposition, and he can use it twice since Kanto refreshes. For support, Dimitri offers debuff neutralization and breath type cooldown. He then has a lot of true damage and flat DR potential. He will need extra statuses from allies such as Claude though. For his new Pure Atrocity, if initiating or near an ally, Dimitri inflicts -5 speed and defense, and he has the Atrocity true damage of 25% attack. Dimitri gets -1 instant cooldown before attacking, and he has full no follow-up effects with 50% DR piercing. After combat, if he attacks, Dimitri neutralizes 2 statuses on foes within 2 spaces. He also applies Divine Vein Haze to the same area. Pure Atrocity gives a lot of true damage and the potential or the partial DR piercing to make it hurt. If he outspeeds, Dimitri can double slower foes guaranteed. For the after combat effect, he neutralizes statuses similar to Attune Micaiah or Ninja Sailing. You neutralize 2 positive statuses though at the top of the status list. Normally, this effect would require an ally to follow up to take advantage of the status neutralization, but Dimitri and the others just get to act again. If the target survives round 1, can they do it with 2 less positive statuses in round 2? If you need to break down some tanky units, Dimitri could offer a way to counter low status stacking teams. With his Slaying and instant cooldown, Dimitri works well with his new inheritable Haze Slice special. Essentially, this is a counterpart to No Quarter. Same inheritance conditions of Sword, Lance and Axe, Infantry, Cows, and Flyers. The damage is 35% attack. If initiating, gain -1 instant cooldown before attacking, and you get unpierceable 40% DR for all attacks. No DR piercing, but Haze Slice gives 40% damage reduction for any number of hits. This is unlike the usual 40% DR specials such as Gust or the Armored specials. The catch is that you only get this DR when initiating, meaning Haze Slice isn't really the best if you want a mixed phase unpierceable % DR skill. Infantry can go with Gust or Boulder, but for defensive Cows and Flyers, this might be a disappointment. Haze Slice will be good for Excel users, but don't expect much for the enemy phase. You can stack the instant cooldown with Momentum. The only issues is that something like No Quarter and Assault Force are the 2 DR piercing options for these types of Cows and Flyers, and you're not going to be able to run either of them with this setup. You're either going to need to find a DR piercing weapon, or you need to find an outside support. For Dimitri, he won't have these issues. Slaying plus 2 instant cooldown effects means Haze Slice charges for hit 1. With Breath type cooldown, Dimitri takes a counterattack and he can charge a second Haze Slice for his follow-up. To get there, Dimitri wants more statuses to stack Excel flat DR with Haze Slice's 40% DR. His weapon gives 3 statuses, but you want 2 more if possible. 5 advantageous statuses means 25 true damage. You then include Atrocity's true damage, and Dimitri is fast with no follow-up to double. Should he survive, Dimitri heals 14 HP thanks to Shadow Shift. He also has Kanto and Reposition, then he triggers the extra action. While this is happening, Pure Atrocity clears 2 of the foe's positive status effects and lays down Haze to Rain. Extra stat debuffs with low, and Dimitri gets to fight again. He can then Kanto and Reposition again. It's very silly. Just like Claude, you could run Fatal Smoke for anti-healing or Miracle, but Claude's Inside Hone also isn't a bad choice. The skill can add 14 attack by itself if you move 3 spaces. We'll definitely take that for the attack scaling special and attack scaling atrocity true damage. For other skills, Clash has a fine Sacred Seal. I forgot to mention that Attack Speed Prime 3 is an upcoming Tempest Trials Sacred Seal. Dimitri gets 3 statuses from his weapons, so an easy +7 attack and speed. If you want to play into the extra actions, Dimitri can run Gale Force. He has Slang with Breath-type cooldown, so it would be hilarious. However, without Haste Slice, Dimitri has no % damage reduction. Now, for another extra action synergy, you could run Assault Troop. Normally, that's not needed, but the warp movement can let Dimitri pass trenches. If you aren't using Celica's Ring, this is something that you could catch someone off guard with. Worth a mention when you have this kind of absurd mobility with an extra action for a move Cavalier. All in all, Valentines Dimitri is gonna hit real hard, and if you can't beat his % DR and flat DR, then he gets another extra action and neutralizes 2 statuses. If he attacks again, you lose 2 more statuses, so Dimitri could be interesting to break down a tank with status stacking. Even if you can take him out, Dimitri's team can just fall up right after. Our last house leader is Edelgard. I still find it hilarious. They literally waited till the next possible moment to release her without letting her participate in a Hero Rises. We'll see if this ult can last till next year. Valentine's 80 will be another Axe armor. For stats, she has 46 HP, 50 attack, 17 speed, 49 defense, and 45 res. Attack super boon, and this Edelgard is gonna hit real hard. For ult skills, it's just Armored Blaze, weaker Bonfire with 40% DR in melee matchups. Now, Eagle's Heart is a 16-byte axe, and even Edelgard gets the extra action after Kanto. In fact, she gets the same Kanto as Dimitri, which is amazing for an armor. She has accelerated specials, and if initiating, or she's next to 1 or fewer allies, Edelgard inflicts attack and defense debuffs on the foe equal to 5 plus 20% of her flat defense stat. She has -1 instant cooldown before attacking and heals 7 HP after combat. She has the same true damage based on statuses like the other 2, and then she has the same flat DR effect Dimitri gets. Once again, Edelgard is going for a player phase armored playstyle. You gotta respect it something besides Savior. For this ult, she has Near Trace 4 type Kanto, and the extra action, you will need to find actual ability elsewhere though. Pure Storm is indeed another Raging Storm. It wasn't on her weapon, but Edelgard also provides support by debuffing at start of turn and after acting. She inflicts -7 attack and defense, exposure, and sabotage on the closest foes and foes within 2 spaces of that. For something new, if Edelgard fights a foe who had entered combat that turn, then the enemy cannot trigger any specials. For her actual combat, if initiating or mostly solo, inflict -5 attack and defense, deal true damage equal to 20% defense, and Edelgard has 50% DR piercing. If she initiates and isn't next to 2 allies after combat, Edelgard gets another extra action. For those keeping score, Edelgard gets 3 actions. Her first, if mostly solo, would trigger Pure Storm's second action. She can attack, then trigger Kanto. After that, Eagle's Heart triggers the 3rd extra action, and you get Kanto again after that. These can activate in the reverse order. Edelgard just needs to be next to 1 or fewer allies to trigger Pure Storm. Considering she can act multiple times herself, Edelgard can self-trigger the no special effect of this skill. If the foe can survive round 1, they get no specials in round 2. Pretty bad for something like a defensive special user. Now for her new inheritable C-skill, Edelgard has Assault Rush. This is an Assault Troop 4 for Sword, Lance, Axe, Infantry, or Armors. Each turn, if foe HP or a foe is within 3 rows or 3 columns, the user gets +6 attack, +1 movement, and the charge status. If initiating, you get 5 more attack and then -1 instant cooldown before attacking. Assault Rush is pretty crazy. This lets any armor have Edelgard's 2 movement with charge, which is potential 3 movement. You then get +11 attack total and instant cooldown from the C slot. If you want a player phase armor, this is about as good as it gets for a C skill. Now, this is also usable by infantry. That means we have another +1 movement option along with brand new Brutal Tempest and then Endless Tempest. Endless has the low effect, Brutal has Kanto, and Assault Rush gives attack with cooldown. Depending on your supports, Assault Rush is a very viable option. You can pair this with Momentum, and the Charged Warping also lets infantry step onto forest tiles. Now, Assault Rush is also great for the new Sly A skills. Edelgard brings Sly Sturdy Blow. If initiating, grant +8 attack and +10 defense. Unit makes a free follow-up attack, and if you have 2 advantageous statuses, you get 5 true damage per hit. Sly A skills are a free follow-up player phase skill. You gotta watch out for no follow-up, but it can be a stand-in for an offensive no follow-up on faster units. Edelgard is being her usual aggressive player phase armored self. Like her winter ult, she has excellent mobility with extra actions and can pre-charge armored blaze. She doesn't have the exact same effects, but this Edelgard does stack a lot of debuffs and true damage. Pure Storm's debuffs with Sabotage can be minus 14 attack and defense, Exposure's 10 true damage, and Edelgard can get 25 true damage with 5 statuses, along with 20% defense as true damage. She might get a follow-up, and she has flat damage reduction to use with the unpierceable 40% DR. Should she survive, Edelgard can get 2 more actions if mostly solo, and then you have 2 counter uses too. If the enemy has already fought, Edelgard prevents them from using any specials. This makes her a great ally to follow up on setup initiators. Bridal Lapis is a prime example because Share Spoils grants another extra action and it gives full DR piercing to Edelgard. You also can use Nearest Tana and her cross-map warping. Valentines Dimitri also can set up follow-ups, but he might just kill the target. Either way, they can work together, and with Claude you just have so many extra actions if the units don't die in one round. Like Dimitri, Edelgard can also run Gale Force. Her weapon and Assault Rush give 2 instant cooldown each fight. After 2 battles, Gale Force will be active. For other skills, you could run the Assault Troop, Sacred Seal, or just use Emblem Rings, but Assault Rush has a great cooldown effect. If you want a mixed phase unit, you could also use Wily Fighter for an enemy phase follow. Overall, another year, another Edelgard. This one is dangerous if she can trigger that no special effect, plus the Kanto portion is just extremely silly. Just let the lady have a cavalry ult already, jeez. Our last unit for today will try to stop some of the shenanigans of the students. Duo Valentines Rhea and Sothis are here to lay down the law of the church. Duo Rhea is a colorless armored dragon. For stats she has 46 HP, 40 attack, 17 speed, 46 defense, and 50 res. Poor Athos just broke the baseline res stat record with 49. Rhea's gonna kick the old man off the podium with a shiny 50 base, plus you got a super boom. Extremely min-max tank. For old skills, Rhea has Dragon's Roar for unpierceable 40% damage reduction if you win a res check. Good thing she's the highest res unit in the game. Rhea also has Defensive Res Scout 4, which was previously only on last year's Valentine's Murder. For her weapon, Rhea is doing her own thing. For allies within 3 spaces, she gives them plus 5 defense and res, 7 flat damage reduction, and Miracle, but only for the enemy phase. This Miracle effect can work once per enemy phase. For her own combat, Rhea has Sling, and Sothis neutralizes Dragon Effectiveness. If the foe initiates or has high HP, Rhea gets bonus attack defensive res equal to 5 plus 20% of her flat res. Rhea has a free follow-up attack, 50% DR piercing, and she has her own Miracle effect that can trigger once per combat. Rhea has true damage and flat DR for all attacks equal to the number of allies within 3 spaces times 5. If you got 3 allies, you get the max 15 true damage and flat DR. If Rhea uses Savior, this is automatically 15 as well. Support-wise, Rhea offers flat DR like Set It and then just Miracle. Do understand this is once per enemy phase. If you want to abuse Emblem Lin's Ring with Miracle, you can't use Rhea, you have to use someone like Ymir. Now, Rhea has Miracle herself, which is kinda annoying when it's on a super bulky army unit. It's a good thing there isn't a free-to-play meta arena unit who does something similar. For a little more protection, Rhea laughs at dragon effective weapons and has 15 flat DR. She then bites back with 50% DR piercing, some true damage, and a free follow-up. Just a note, from the Fade channel, I assume Rhea was only doubling Diamant because of the new Marissa, or she was doing a triangle attack or dual strike. There are no actual brave attacks in this kit. Moving on, Rhea upgrades to Pure Dragon Wall every turn and after combat if you have a beast or dragon ally, or if Rhea is just near within 2 spaces of an ally herself. She heals 10 HP. She has a Phantom Res effect for plus 5 res. You then have the True Dragon Wall effect. If it's the first fight in either phase, Rhea can get up to 60% DR if she has 10 or more resistance. For all other situations, it's the normal 40% max. For other effects, Rhea inflicts minus 5 attack, defense, and res. She has no guard, inflicts scale on the enemy with the usual res check, and then she has the minus 1 instant cooldown before the foe attacks. Rhea gets more true damage and flat DR based on her res stat. If it's the first fight in a phase, she gets 30% res scaling. Afterwards, it's the standard 20% res scaling. There's nothing really new from Rhea's kit, she just kinda has everything all at once. With Dragon's Roar, she has 2% DR sources, and with her weapon, she has 2 flat DR sources. Rhea has 2 scout effects with the A skill, and then she has her own healing to loop her Miracle effect. It's a very tanky setup. Thankfully, the dual skill is very simple. Rhea and nearby allies get the low status to neutralize field buffs. She also applies Divine Vein Stone within 2 spaces. Like Dual Fjorm, this is a 2-turn lasting effect. A little less annoying than Ice Block in the way, but Rhea can just set up shop in the stone terrain. For her inheritable C skill, also not really a new effect. Lower ground is the near save equivalent to higher ground's far save. Both of these skills share Barricade's warp bubble effects, and this is only for beast and dragon armors. When fighting any melee foe, the user gets +4 defense and res as well. This is Rhea's near save skill. Warp bubble can stop units like Edelgard, not to mention Celica's ring. Not the strongest saver skill in combat, but preventing warping may be more important. As a unit, Dual Rhea is a near save tank who has some retaliation potential with partial DR piercing, true damage, and then a follow-up. Rhea can charge Dragon Roar for a counterattack, plus it's an unpierceable 40% DR. She combos this with pure Dragon Walls, 60% or 40% DR. You then have 15 flat DR from saving allies and either 30% or 20% res as more flat damage reduction. Rhea is being a bit smart with her Dragon War % DR because she doesn't have it ready for the first attack. The foe could trigger it with their own special, but double scowl can stop specials, which means Rhea keeps the unpierceable 40% DR for the follow-up attack. She doesn't scowl follow-ups, so specials are possible there. Even if Rhea takes a big hit, she has Miracle. Brave attacks or potent hits can take her out, but unless you can nuke Rhea on the first hit, then finish her off, she is gonna heal and loop Miracle. Breath of Life 4 would be amazing for any team with Rhea. If they don't take her out first, then the ranged fighters also have Miracle effects. Do note, Rhea really needs to win her res check or Scowl, Dragon's Roar, and Dragon's Wall all do not work. If you don't have 10 or more res, Dragon's Wall has weaker % DR. If you can debuff her resistance, she also loses stats and flat DR. Double Scowl is fine, but you could do something like Unity for debuffs. Another A skill is the Tier 4 boost for HP and Guard. Most instant cooldown effects don't work on follow-ups, so Guard plus Scowl can be enough to stop a special altogether. For other skills, Rhea could use Stronghold for funny flat stats, she can use Twin or Briar save skills, or Higher Ground for far save, nothing really stopping her from being in melee or ranged fights. You could run the Distant Counter Sacred Seal, and while Wily Fighter is redundant, the low effect could be nice to have when the dual skill isn't ready. Special Fighter is going to be fine for Guard, and if Rhea is doubled, then she could recharge Dragon's Roar. Overall, another very tanky savior armor. If you're struggling with Marnie and or the Snake Lady, then not great. Rhea is going to be a pain because she can just give Nidhogger Miracle too. Another reason why Fatal Smoke 4 really should be a priority if you want to nuke stuff. That'll be it for the first banner of the 9th year of Fire Emblem Heroes. The house leaders are always spicy, but this time it's pretty wild if you cannot stop their assault. You really want to get to them and player phase them first before their extra actions take effect. Next up, I'll be going over the Tempest Trials where you can get Valentine's Hubert. We have some fun Sacred Seals, and then I'll be covering the refines after that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.